somebody asking on the WhatsApp line, does Siv have clothes on? Hy praat mos kaal gaan op die socials. He's fully dressed.
Do you blame me?
Clothes.
Have you seen how I look naked?
Sure.
I look unbelievable.
I have actually. It's a story for another day.
Three women in this room with us at the moment. If someone jumps into this room with a gun, friend, they're going to look at us, my friend. They're going to look at me and you to protect. Laying, kissing my mom and crying on the floor. How about that moment? I've lost everything. And my uncle's grabbing me to tell me not to cry and to calm down. What?
It's a man trying to tell you how to be a man.
There it is.
Without understanding he's fundamentally warped himself.
Yes.
Siv Ngesi, I see he's just walked in, sat down, uninvited.
Taking like a selfies here.
Good morning.
Away.
I'm waiting for Oya. No.
Oya. Oya.
All right, you good, sir?
I'm living the dream.
Always, man.
Not always. I'm always trying to live the dream. Ups and downs.
No, I see you on the socials. You're living a dream life, my friend. You are out there.
I must be honest, life is amazing.
Doing the stuff. I love chatting to him. And we're going to talk to him in the next bit about what it is to be a man, what it is to be a real man, what it is to be, sadly, a South African man. I'm wanting to climb into his brain and just hear what his thoughts are. That conversation on the other side of Dua Lipa and the baby is a thinker. I mean, apart from being an actor, an entertainer.
Multi-award winning.
And all of those things.
Somebody
Somebody asking on the WhatsApp line, does Siv have clothes on? Hy praat mos kaal gaan op die socials. He's fully dressed.
Do you blame me?
Clothes.
Have you seen how I look naked?
Sure.
I look unbelievable.
I have actually. It's a story for another day. Now, Siv, come. I mean, we are. You and I have spoken. We've spoken privately. We've spoken on air over the course of many years around what it is to be a man and some of the things that men do and some of, well, I suppose how our manhood, our collective manhood, has just wreaked havoc on society. What's wrong with men? Let's start there.
I think
what the hell's up with us?
I think it's an interesting thing. I think at the moment in 2024, you speak about masculinity, and I think people start confusing toxic masculinity with masculinity. They're not the same thing. They're not the same thing at all. It's like saying you get a new apple that's nice and fresh, and then in two months you go, oh, that apple it doesn't taste good. Oh, obviously it's toxic at the moment. I feel like a lot of men used to be able to know where they fit in society. I don't think a lot of men know where they fit in society. I think it used to be quite simple. You provide and you protect. And I don't think women need us to provide or protect currently. I really think that they don't need us. A lot of women decide if they want us in their lives or not, but they don't need us. There's electric fences. There's dogs to protect them. They are working. They're studying. They're making their own money. So I don't think men really know where they fit in at the moment. And I really feel like I don't think enough people are speaking about the state of men's mental health in 2024. I think if women's mental health was as bad as men's mental health, I think people will be really talking. It'll be on front pages and people would really be having this conversation that needs to be had. Men are in a terrible position at the moment. And I think I never thought about how close men's mental health month or men's month is close to active. It's totally, because when people see how badly men are treating women, they are shocked. They're like, oh my goodness, it's terrible. Men are trash. Men are so terrible. But they don't ask why. No one's asking why. There's no programs. There's no mentorship programs for young men. And then all you are doing is calling men names. When has calling people names ever made them change?
So what's up with that? I mean, come on, you're identifying a problem, and it's pretty obvious, I think, for people to see. Men struggle when it comes, firstly, to admitting that they've got an issue with their mental health, and then seeking some kind of help or looking for some kind of solution to it. What's the problem there? What's the hold up?
Okay, guys, I want to say, first of all, I'm not the perfect man. And if you're looking for the perfect man, find the perfect woman and then bring it to me. I'm not the perfect man, and there is no such thing. What I do think, listen to this thing quickly. Do you know that everyone tells men to go for therapy, right? But, quickly, most therapists are women. Most people who go to therapy are women. So when a man goes to therapy, usually the people who are a therapy are usually who go to therapy are women. And then the people who usually are talking to them are women. So a lot of the times he sits there and we do communicate differently and we do talk differently. And mostly people are used to talking to women in therapy. right? So even when we go to therapy, a lot of us men are speaking to people, they communicate differently. When I feel like talking, I don't want to sit down in front of a man. I don't want to sit down in front of someone. I want to go for a walk. I want to go play paddle. I want to go be at a braai. We communicate differently. And I don't think people are talking to men or men are talking to people in the right way or the right environment. And a lot of people are going to say I'm making excuses for men, but I really am not. I really feel like, for example, let me give you an example. If in the olden days, men used to hunt mammoths, right? And then they used to be like in a big group hunting.
Yeah.
One man, if one messes up, one man wasn't going to scream, "You stupid idiot!" They walk up to him and go, "Hey, buddy," just and they change it differently. So I do think we communicate differently and we do things differently. But I think a lot of the times we're all talking about how we're all the same. We're all the same. No, we communicate differently. For me, if I'm having a terrible day, I'll call one of my guy friends. We'll walk on the prom, or we'll go play paddle, or we'll box. We'll literally go beat each other up. For me to get something out and talk while we're beating each other up. My lady friends don't meet each other at boxing to mold each other to be able to get stuff up. No, I need to inflict some kind of thing out to be able to communicate, right? But I do think everyone treats us and communicates to us like we're women. And another thing, the answer to fixing masculinity is not making it more feminine. I'm sick and tired of the world trying to make men more feminine because that will make masculinity is masculinity, and the world needs masculinity. Masculinity is a beautiful thing. I don't care what anyone says. Masculinity is a beautiful thing, and the world needs masculinity. And there is toxic masculinity, and there's beautiful masculinity. There's toxic femininity, and there's beautiful femininity. I do not care. You cannot make us more female to make us better. That's not going to help us.
All right, you talk about men and emotion and owning up to it. Anger is an emotion that comes very easily to men.
Agreed.
Outrage is an emotion that comes way too easily. So things escalate when a guy loses his mind. Short fuse, boom, there's a moment in a car park, you're parking too close to me. Things can escalate very, very quickly. So the notion that men don't feel emotion is misplaced.
Yeah, definitely.
Men can feel emotion in a very real and a very targeted manner. Success as an emotion is there. It's obvious. Achievement, just the sense that men can go out there and conquer. All the emotions that come with that. You know, you watch guys in the sports field, they rip off their shirts, they run around, they want the world to see that they've done well. Yeah. Those emotions come easily. Yeah. Anything that has to do with, sensitivity, kindness, empathy. Yeah. That's not seen still, and you know what I'm talking about.
Agreed.
It's still not seen as the thing that men need to display in society, but especially not towards other men.
So here it is. I personally feel like it's quite ironic. A lot of people tell us to be sensitive and show emotion, but most of the memes of anyone who's been famous, who's a man who has been sensitive or emotional, they become memes and made fun of. Right? So then you're like, where can we be sensitive? Where are we allowed to be sensitive? Can we be sensitive here? I personally feel that any man who is an emotional, kind man needs to have a controlled anger that can be controlled to protect and defend his loved ones. I think every man needs another side of him, because for me, there's 3 women in this room with us at the moment. If someone jumps into this room with a gun, friend, they're going to look at us, my friend. They're going to look at me and you to protect, right? They're going to look at us to be able to do something, like naturally. And me and you will naturally try and jump forward and try to protect. So I definitely feel like controlled anger is needed amongst men. I don't think we can live in a world where we're like, everyone needs to love each other and everyone can't be angry. No, I think a controlled anger needs to be. For me, I lost my mother 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and I was quite open about my grief, the emotion. I realized that I need to be able to share it towards men. And sometimes I'll be walking in the street and a guy will be like, I lost my mom 10 years ago. I couldn't show anyone how bad it was. Let me tell you something. I lost my mother, and inside of me, it felt like a bomb went off, right? I wanted to hurt people. I wanted to hurt the world. I wanted to inflict violence amongst everyone. And when I walked in the street and people were laughing and smiling, I looked at them like, why are you laughing? Why are you smiling? I could feel the darkness inside of me. Now, if I didn't let it out, if I didn't have an outlet to let it out, I think I would be in a crazy dangerous position at the moment. I have friends of mine who've lost their mothers long ago and they didn't grieve properly. If you are sitting here and you are suicidal, you are depressed, and you've lost a parent, I understand. I have felt it. I have felt the darkness. I have seen the darkness. Now, women are allowed to show emotion. They're allowed to go out there and be able to be sensitive, to be able to be vulnerable. And we men are not. It doesn't let us be. I'll be honest, after seeing and experiencing, after losing my mother, I'm not surprised so many men are out there hurting women and hurting other people and hurting kids. I've felt the darkness, man. It is heavy and it's dark.
Where do you think the pressure comes from for men to behave in that typical, almost stereotypical manner, that you cannot be distraught, that you've lost the guiding force in your life? Why is that an issue? Your vulnerability cannot be on display because it's seen as weakness.
I think, a lot of people speak like patriarchy is a system that only oppresses women, which I don't understand who came up with that flipping narrative. I think patriarchy steals from all of us. It steals from all of us because patriarchy told boys, it was involved in telling boys not to cry. Be strong. Be a man. Be a man. Who are you? Why are you showing emotion? But I think people only talk about patriarchy now when it's men oppressing women. I don't know. I have god sons and I have god daughters. And I can see with my godson is four and a half. I can already see the system working on him compared to my girls. You know what I mean? It's just crazy to be able to see how different they are. Even at 2 years old, 1 year old, 3 year old, people are still telling boys not to cry, not to show emotion. Well, do you know that? This is weird. This is so weird. But do you know when young girls are on the spectrum, they get diagnosed later? Boys diagnosed earlier. Do you know why? Because people expect young girls to be quiet and to themselves and not, you know what I mean? But as soon as a little boy is quiet to himself, whatever, then they're like, oh, something's wrong with him. Something's wrong with him. So young girls are being diagnosed much later to young boys. Like, how have we normalized that thing, But I want to be able to say that for me, when I was crying on my Insta stories, when I was crying on Instagram, when I was showing emotion, when
you were looking for attention.
Yes.
As the comment said. Why is this guy here? He's obviously looking for attention.
Now, the reason why I thought I needed to cry online and show emotion online is because I shared my mother with the world. I shared our relationship with the world, right? And I didn't want to be that guy, that Siv Ngesi that everyone knows about, happy, clappy. No, bruh. I lost my world. I lost everything, right? But it's interesting, when men do lose everything and become in a dark place, people are like, what? No, get up. Do something about it. Nah, bruh. I have never felt a bigger weight on my shoulders than when my mother died. And another thing that's quite interesting is men and women treat trauma differently. A lot of the times when men are traumatized or hurt, they hurt others. But women hurt themselves. It's another interesting thing about things. We men, we want to go out to hurt people. I felt it. I felt it. And what saved me was boxing. I would go to boxing and I was allowed to hurt someone.
Yeah.
I was allowed
with their permission.
With the permission. Yeah. I would go to pole dancing. It gave me something, and then I would go play paddle. Those three things. My best friend, I have a best female friend. When my mom died, I'll never forget. When my mom died, my best friend literally stopped at my house. She jumped in bed with me, and we cried together for the whole night. And I had someone who's a woman who was able to let me be. Actually, when they called me to tell me my mom died, I remember my mom was lying on the ground after they did a piano. And I remember I ran in and my uncle grabbed me and said, "Don't cry."
Yeah.
My best friend hit his arm and was like, his mom just died. He can do whatever he wants. Then I was laying, kissing my mom and crying on the floor. How about that moment? I've lost everything. And my uncle's grabbing me to tell me not to cry and to calm down. What?
It's a man trying to tell you how to be a man.
There it is.
Without understanding he's fundamentally warped himself.
Yes. So another thing that's interesting, guys, is that in this position, I think a lot of people think that we're making excuses for men. We're not. We're trying to find a reason why we're so broken. But I think in the conversation, usually everyone talks about the symptoms of broken men. It's only about the symptoms. If I have the flu, I'll have a runny nose, I will cough, I'll feel tired, then people are like, okay, cool, you're sick. Why are you sick? Oh, you have the flu. But when it talks about men's masculinity, everyone just goes, they're killing women, they're killing kids, they're raping, da 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 da. No one says whys. There's no whys. We're not justifying it. Now, I know a lot of people are going to look in the comments and say Siv is justifying men being trash. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, let's look for the cause. Why 3 times more men are dying than women in the hands of man, right? Why men suicide rates are out of this world. Why we have the highest dropout rates of males, right, in society. No one tells you that. If you picked up a paper, you would think more women are dying than men in society. That's what you would think. Even men's mental health. I've seen the comments. Why do we have men's month? Why? But then during the 16 days of activism, it's men are trash, men are trash, men are terrible, men are terrible, men are terrible. No one asks why men are terrible. When I grew up, we had incredible male figures. We had politicians. We looked up to politicians. We had Nelson Mandelas. We had the troublemakers. We had all these incredible humans that we looked up to. Who do men now look up to? Tate online, Tate, Elon Musk, whatever, Donald Trump. Do you know in America, I'm going to say it now, America, white females, white women voted for Trump. Everyone was like, what? Talking about all the abortion stuff, blah, blah, blah. Do you know why white females voted for Trump? Because white females have white sons who actually prosper from this toxicity. And they know, let me vote for Trump because he'll make sure that my child, my son, lives the toxic life that he's living now and he'll get away with it. So for me, isn't it interesting how single mothers still raise toxic men? You think to yourself, what do you mean?
It should be different
what
in the
do you
face
mean?
of it. Yeah.
Single mothers still raise rapists. Single mothers still raise toxic men because the system raises men. I can see from the boy children in my life, the system helps raise these boys. So for me, I challenge all of us. To hold ourselves accountable. Like for me, WhatsApp groups, men's WhatsApp groups, let's hold each other accountable. Like I don't care. Anything toxic needs to be called out. All men, we should hold each other accountable continuously. And calling people names won't change them. I promise.
Not at all.
Nope.
It's why we've invited him. I just love, I sit there and I listen and I love what comes out of his mouth, but more importantly, I love what's going on in his brain. And perhaps under the circumstances, the very best person we could have asked to come along this morning. Siv Ngesi, more with him in a little bit. We've got news on the way.
When it comes to
Listen, it's Men's Month, and I did say we'll have a couple of very critical conversations. This morning's right there up among them. It's not just about our physical health and what we do to try and keep ourselves living for as long as we can, but it's about what goes in our minds and ultimately just our sense of identity, our sense of being. A couple of messages I want to share with you. Siv Ngesi is my guest, and I've invited him along specifically because he's outspoken around many things, including the content we're dealing with this morning. Here's somebody saying the comments issues identified by your guest are spot on. Add to that, when men show emotion, comments are then made. Why so touchy? Wat gaan met jou aan? Making the situation worse. Men then react aggressively. There we are, right? So perhaps we're just cultured into not showing true emotion because nobody wants to be made fun of, regardless of how strong, how tough I think you are. There is somebody, Reggie, on the WhatsApp line saying, I'm listening to your conversation. Just a question, are we making excuses for men's behavior? I've had a couple of those.
Let me say, we're not making excuses. We're trying to find reasons for why it's happening. And it's not an excuse. See, that's how it happens. It is always an excuse. Like no one ever goes, why and where did you get the flu? Like it's always about trying to treat the symptom. We're not trying to treat where you got it from. You know, we're wearing masks the entire time. We're wearing masks for flipping how many months? Because we were trying to stop us getting it. And I always say to my guy friends, some of my guy friends are struggling with mental health issues at the moment. I'm like, Choms, you used to be a top basketball player. You still playing sport? Do you still indoor soccer? No. Do you still hang out with friends? Because a lot of the times what happens is, even with women have the same issue. A lot of the times you get busy, you have kids, you stop taking care of yourself.
Your world changes.
Your whole entire world changes. But I'm part of these paddle groups now. I see men coming after putting down their kids, chilling with the wife, having dinner. At 11 o'clock at night, they'll come play paddle for an hour and a half. changed my friends' lives. Because now they're going to hang out with guy friends, grab a drink, whatever, but they've done their things as men that they need to do. But I do feel a lot of people need to give themselves a fighting chance. Go back to your communities, play sport. Once a night, go hang out with guy friends, do something, have conversations. And another thing, Choms, to all the men, our parents told us our entire lives. You can tell a lot about a person by who they hang out with. If you are hanging out with trash, you will be trash. You know what I mean? It's so simple. You know what I mean?
Indeed it is.
Get a good community.
Few more messages very quickly, and I think it touches on a whole bunch of things we've spoken about in the past half hour. Somebody saying, my son had 2 psychotic breaks in the past 2 years. He never dealt with the rejection of his father. I mean, that's something you spoke about.
Yep.
The loss of both his grandmothers, so rejection and loss. I mean, that's a toxic combination right there. The lockdown also had a massive impact on his mental health, and then he was, for a long time, used to being confined in a small space, then going back to university, the world, all of a sudden, went from a bedroom to a huge space. I don't think we fully understood just how much of a thing lockdown has done to our minds. Anyway, ends off saying we now have this beautiful relationship where we allow everyone to share their feelings and support each other. And ultimately, I mean, that's what families or your network needs to be about. There's one in from a young man saying, I'm a young male who needs to hear this because we are not allowed to discuss feelings. Yeah.
I can tell you how social media has affected my mental health negatively. I think social media, I don't think we're supposed to have as much access to people as we do on social media. We have too much access to people. Currently, in the old days, when I used to go for a job, I never used to get it. I never used to know. I never knew who got it. Now, I auditioned for something recently. They've been shooting for 4 months. I see it every day on my social media. It tells me how inadequate I am. It tells me that I'm not as good as I thought I was, and I see that every single day. And for me, continuously, we are seeing people's highlights on their social media. Not their lowlights. We see the highlights.
No, not their lives.
Not their lives.
No. Yeah. Just their highlights.
Just their highlights.
Very carefully manicured.
just their
Take
highlights.
1, take 2, take 3, take 4 gets
Yes.
posted.
If you're if on Supersport, if the Springboks play and they play for 80 minutes, and you go to the highlights package and you watch 5 minutes, you think, domination. Tristan Colby scoring every 2 minutes. No, that's the highlights package. And that's what we're supposed to consume every single day. Now, if you guys are going to repeat, guys, I'm not saying there's an excuse for men. There are women out there who are struggling with life continuously, single mothers doing incredible work. And another thing I want to say, I don't understand this thing about us celebrating single mothers doing great things. Women should not be raising children alone and single. That is too normalized. A lot of men are leaving their women to take care of children on their own. It is difficult already to be a parent of 1 child and there's 2 people. So there is trouble out there. We're not making excuses. And I hate that when it's got to do with men's issues or men's health or men's mental health, this is always the thing that we get back. So why do you think men aren't looking for help? Because they get pointed fingers at people telling them they're making excuses. When he's going, I am having terrible thoughts. Then they go, go fix it. You know what I mean? And then you speak to a therapist. I have friends of mine who stop therapy because they sit there and this woman sits there and starts telling her that he's weak and he's try harder. No, he's going, I'm struggling with life. But you're only allowed to struggle with life when you have a vagina. I'm sorry, I said it. I promise you, the front pages, if men's mental health and suicide rates were as bad for women as they are for men, I promise you it'll be on every single front page. I can tell you now, I have WhatsApp messages and DMs from men who are going, oh, is that what's wrong with me? Huh? Like, what? Like, and for me, if I'm a young boy currently and my hero is Andrew Tate, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and just sports people, what do you think the state of our society is going to be like?
Absolutely.
But what can we do to change that? I mean, we're having this conversation, and I suppose that's one step because, like you said, in your DMs, young men are saying, oh, is this what's wrong with me? But can we as women?
Yeah.
Because that's actually a lot of pressure to feel from society. I must be the provider. I must be this. When as a woman, I'm not thinking
here's an
that.
example. Here's somebody. I lost my mom last year, and I feel exactly the way you do. Speaking about you, talking about your mom, right? The person goes on to say, but my wife and family doesn't know how I feel because I have to be okay for them. I have to be okay because I have to be okay to be their provider and always be there for them.
Yeah. There's a famous person, I'm not going to mention his name, but he lost parents. And he said to me that we were talking about grief, and he said to me, I would wake up in the morning, I would take care of my kids, take my kids to school, pick them up from school, get home, be the amazing husband, put them to sleep, and then I'll take out a bottle of whiskey, lay on the ground of my kitchen floor, and cry myself to the next morning, and then wake up every single day and have to be
keep
fine.
on doing it, yeah.
This is a guy who is intelligent, he is smart, he is successful, and that's the only way he could mourn. Did his family know it was that bad? No, they didn't. And for me, to what women can do for me, I think, it's interesting because I think us men are the problem in there too. Because I think we men put women into categories. We have these women that we sexualize.
Yeah.
We have these women that we care for, who love us, whatever. But I think we need to be open to having all these women in our lives add to our lives. But I do think a lot of us have an ownership of women that we go, no, she's the sexy girl. We can't talk about emotions with her. Okay, this is my friend who's my girlfriend. Okay, cool, I can talk about, but I can't show her too much emotion because I still have to be this man. I think it's going to take decades and decades and decades and hundreds of years to be able to change what we've created. We've created. For me, you know what I'm scared of? I'm scared of the boys we're creating now. I'm scared of of boys who've been told how terrible they are for so long. Because for me, we have critical thinking. We know when they say men are trash, we know my best example for men are trash is that there's 100 sharks in a cage, right? In the aquarium. And you're swimming with 100 sharks. You have to treat every single shark in that cage like it could eat you. You can't go, not all of them will eat me. All of them will eat you. And that's for me, men are trash, I get that. But when you're 13, when you're 12, when you're 10, can you decipher what they're talking about? So you've been told your entire most important years of your life that you're trash and you're terrible. Studies have shown, ask a young boy, does he love being a man or does he love being a boy? He said, no, boys are terrible. But he goes to Elon Musk, he goes to Trump, and he goes to Andrew Tate, and Tate's talking about working harder, got a job, go. Those are the only people who are telling him. But when I grew up, I had Nelson Mandela, guys. I had Muhammad Ali. What? You know what I mean? I had these people, Steve Biko, that I could look up to. That's the masculinity I grew up on, right? But close relationship with my mother. My mother loved me to the point of toxicity because she was telling me how great I am continuously. But hey, disciplinarian, which helped me. For me, discipline equals freedom. Right? I'll never forget, I was traveling the world with a musical when I was 9. One day, I got home, my mother made me do the dishes. I said, what? But I'm famous.
You know who I am?
Do you know who I'm 9 years old. My mother was like, no. For me, discipline is love and freedom. And I think we don't talk enough about that. And I think accountability for me, I do not think a woman is the answer to changing men. I think we men need to get our hands dirty, hold each other accountable, and we need to go find help.
That's where it starts.
We need to find help. We need to find. But even have you seen the suicide stats of rugby players?
Let me come back to you. I'll come back to you in a moment with some concluding thoughts. It's the final moments of our breakfast this Thursday morning. I had a really powerful conversation around manhood, men, the existence of men, just what it is to be a man, and a young boy becoming a man in a world that's changing, that has just lots and lots of other pressures coming to bear. A lot of it driven by social media. And I mean, there are moves now. I mean, Australia, for instance, trying to get kids under the age of 16 to steer clear of social media. I think it's not a half bad idea because the kids are just being given the wrong view of life. What do you enjoy about being a man? Let's go there, Siv.
I don't know.
I mean, do you? Are you expected to?
I love
people ask me this, and I'm just like, there was a 50-50 chance. Nature made me this, and I'm going to rock this until I get to come back as something else.
I love being a man, but I do think to myself, how will I be raising a man, a little boy? I think a lot of boys, there's no father figures, no men. There are father figures, but no men in the household. Like 60-something% of men in South Africa don't have a man on their birth certificate, and the ones who do have men in the house, the men are just raising them the way they They're men raised.
Yeah, I spoke to the headmaster of a very well-known boys' school in Cape Town, junior school, and he was saying 70% of the kids are coming to grade 1. Right? These are boys. 70% come out of single household homes. He said we've got a massive issue with behavior because these are usually only children. They are indulged, they're spoilt, and they have an absent father. And I mean, that's I mean, we see it not only at the nice suburban schools, but we see it across the country. It's a massive problem.
No, it's definitely a problem. I must be honest, I want girls. I want to raise girls. I do not want to raise a version of me that's heightened and has access. I didn't have access. So that helped me become this guy that I am. I don't know I think I'll create a heightened version of me if I have a boy. I want to raise a little girl. I must be honest. But for me, once again, we're not making excuses. We're just trying to find the cause of the problem, the cause of the issue. We do have a problem. We do have an issue. Let's not stop trying to solve the symptoms. Let's stop us from having it. Let's have that mask so people can't get that. Because we understand having masks during COVID, because that stopped you from getting something. And then when you get, you know what I mean? But I think a lot of us are just too busy trying to find and heal symptoms. And symptoms, unfortunately, are pretty dangerous.
And let's not wait till next November to
Yes.
pick up this conversation again, because it's the only time it seems to roll around, because it has context.
It's the same as on the internet. If you say you like apples, I go, what about grapes? What about grapes? We're talking about apples now. Just for this month, let's talk about apples. Leave the grapes, leave the apples. But thanks so much for having the conversation, man. When I got the call, I've been talking with Natalie Mamani about this, and we've been talking about how we need to talk about men's mental health, and it's been a thing, because I've been surrounded by it. I have felt something in my heart after the experience of losing my mother, of a heaviness that I've never felt before. And I think a lot of men think the heaviness is masculinity. No, it is not. Being masculine, being a man, is not heavy. It's not a weight on your shoulders. You know what I mean? I think a lot of men think it is. Like that guy speaking there, man, you can hear that brother on the line. You can hear he's in pain. And the world's telling you to be a man. Stop crying. You'll be fine. And then when he shoots his family, people are like, what happened? No, it was a weight. And he thought that his family's better off with them not being here. Not justifiable, but let's fix the symptoms. And let's make sure that the boys who are coming can be better versions of themselves.
Absolutely. Siv Ngesi, I love you, my friend.
But I'll see you at Sevens.
You know most.
Yes.
There
a lot
we
of
are.
men there. There are a lot of men there.
Too many men. That's our
many
story.
men.
We're officially out. We're back tomorrow morning live from takealot.com. It's, of course, the big Black Friday day.
I'll be there.
All right. Okay.
I'll be there.
That's the story. We look forward to your company then, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
You go out. You make sure today is the best Thursday of your life.